already answering the question, if you even know this question, or if you've even heard of this question before, which I hope you have, or then again, I hope you have not. In either case, you're going to be satisfied with the answer to it. And the question is, what is celery root? How do you cook it? How do you deal with it? How do you eat it? How do you cut it, clean it, shop for it, etc.? Well, these are celery roots. They're also known as celeric. That would be the French term. And I would certainly say that the French pioneered what and how these things are cooked and handled as a rule. And they've been copied by other Western countries, including the United States. These are moderately expensive. This would probably cost you in a supermarket about $4 to $6 for that one knob, unless you happen to get yourself a good deal. Now, this is an exceptionally large piece of celery root. Now, you see these pieces of celery right here? This is the root of the celery. Look at that. This is what grows underneath the ground. This is called celery root. This is a vegetable that can be treated a couple of different ways. Number one, it can be grated raw and put on a salad or something like that and eaten. But if it's eaten raw, it's usually grated or shredded and added to some cold food. It's typically not eaten hot, raw. The way is it normally, which way is it normally consumed? It's normally boiled until it's tender enough to eat, and then prepared a number of ways. Celery root soup, julienne of celery root salad with remoulade mayonnaise and tomatoes and garlic or whatever. Excuse me. Mashed celery root, which is what we're going to make today. Excuse me again. Or you can just have diced celery root warmed up with butter, salt, and pepper with chopped parsley and a little bit of garlic or no garlic. There's multiple ways that this particular vegetable is prepared, and no surprise that we don't see a lot of it in this country. It's just not a mainstream item. But that's the reason why it's in this course. Familiarizing you with the products that are in the marketplace is part of what learning to cook means. Now, you may go out and try celery root once or twice and say, hey, I like it, I don't like it, my friends liked it, they didn't like it. The important thing to know is that you know where and when and how to feel and use the celery root if you should so desire. So as part of your education, I included this root just to show you that. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to be a time-elapsed video, of course, because it takes a fair amount of time to cook these celery roots. Now, this one is kind of big, so I'm going to split it in half when I cook it, which is very unusual because normally you don't do that, but this is a particularly big one. So I'm going to take these celery roots, and I have water back here just getting ready to come to a boil. I'm going to drop the celery roots in it, and I'm going to boil the celery roots until they're tender enough to eat. Now, I'm going to test them by going in with a boning knife and checking them to see if they're tender enough to eat. I'm going to take the tops off of the root, too, before they're cooked. Okay, we have really no use for this, okay? So, this one I'm going to cut in half. And at this point, you'll be able to see what the inside of the celery root looks like prior to being cooked. It's very white. And after it's cooked, you'll find out that it's kind of a opaque or a very, very off-white color then, you know? All right? Looks a little bit like a giant horseradish root once you cut it in half, okay? Fresh horseradish. So let's put this in the water. And I'm going to cover it up. And we're going to set that to boil. And whatever length of time it takes for it to get tender enough to eat, I will tell you when we come back on this time-elapsed preparation of celeric or celery roots. All right, we're back with the celery root that has been boiling and boiling and boiling. For about 35 minutes, I boiled these two halves, which cooked twice as fast as the other one. Now, the other one that I have here is still in there cooking. I just took these out about 30 minutes ago and put them in the ice water so that they would get cold. This particular vegetable takes time to get cold for the ice water to penetrate it, okay? Now this one is cooked now, and I'm going to take it out and put it in the ice water, okay? But these, which are now cold enough for me to handle, to show you how to do the mashed celery root, we're going to use. And in the time it takes for us to do this, this will get cold, and I'm going to show you a couple of other tricks with how to serve the celery root and talk to you about how to cut it and things like that, okay? Let's begin by cleaning the outside skin off of the celery root that's cooked. Still a little tough right there. That's over by where the stem's at, okay? Now you can peel this like this. It's nice and cold. What we're going to do to make the mashed celery root is I'm going to microwave this and get it hot. And I have some mashed potatoes here that I made, which is just plain white Idaho potatoes that were peeled, boiled, and mashed. And we're going to mix those together a little bit. I'm going to put some fresh herbs and some garlic and some butter in it, and you'll see what that's all about. But I'm going to make sure we get all the goo gobs off of there. And we'll just take the celery root, which is not overcooked, as you can see here, Richard, pan down here. That's it's just in some very friendly pieces there. And we're going to trim off all the dark spots. And up near the top of the celery knob, where the celery itself grows, it's a little tough right there, and that part you might need to trim off, which is what I just did, okay? Come on down here again now, Richard. Take that, get this little ugly part out of there. We don't want big black blotches. Come on back. Big black blotches in there. Now, how much mashed potato do I need for that much? It's somewhat subjective, but I'm going to add, this is one large celery root. I'm going to add maybe that much mashed potato. Now I'm going to take all of this and put it in the microwave for about 3 or 4 minutes so it gets really, really, really hot. And then we'll time elapse that. And when I come back in 3 or 4 minutes right away now, we'll put this in a bowl and beat it with a heavy whisk. And we'll put our seasonings in it and we'll have it. We'll have mashed celery root. And maybe this will be cool enough at that time for me to show you a couple of other tricks with the celery root, okay? So I'll be right back. In about 3 or 4 minutes, we're going to microwave this till it's really hot. It'll mash better when it's hot, okay? Right back. Oh, okay, we've microwaved the celery root and the mashed potatoes together, and they're nice and hot. And I decided that we're going to pulse mash it slightly in the food processor, okay? So let's start by getting it into the food processor. And this recipe calls for a little bit of butter. We're going to put a little bit of butter right in there. I got about 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces of butter in there. And we also have some, down here on the cutting board, we have some fresh basil, some fresh sage, some fresh thyme, and some fresh tarragon. We're going to chop those together, and we're going to add this into the mixture. Now, this is an optional thing for the recipe, but it's very helpful. So we'll put some fresh herbs in there.